Welcome to Living Word Media Sunday School. I'm Pastor Eustace Duffus. If this lesson blessed you, please like, share, and subscribe to Living Word Media. Tell a friend to tell a friend about Living Word Media. Thanks for joining us. Stay rooted and walk good.
Saying thanks, Gospel of Luke chapter 17 verses 11 to 19. Jesus healed 10, so why did only one come back? What did the 9 miss that could cost you everything? Have you ever received a blessing from God and kept walking like nothing happened? What does that reveal about your heart? What if being healed isn't the same as being made whole? Are you settling for less than what Jesus offers? The one who returned was a Samaritan, an outsider. So how is it that the one least expected became the only one who truly saw Jesus? And here's the tension. Jesus asked, "Where are the 9?" What if he's asking that same question about you, right now? Are you more focused on what God can do for you, or on who he is to you? Because all 10 cried out in desperation, but only one came back in devotion. So which group are you really in? This moment takes place as Jesus is on his way to Jerusalem, moving through the border region between Samaria and Galilee. This wasn't just a travel detail, this was a divided place. Jews and Samaritans had deep cultural and religious tension. They didn't associate, they didn't worship together, they didn't see eye to eye. And yet, here come 10 men, all suffering from leprosy. Leprosy wasn't just a disease, it was a life sentence. It meant isolation, rejection, and being cut off from family, community, and worship. According to the law, they had to stand at a distance. That's why they cried out instead of coming close. But notice this, pain brought them together, even when culture kept them apart. They lift their voices, "Jesus, Master, have mercy on us." And Jesus does something unexpected. He tells them to go show themselves to the priests. That required faith, because at that moment, nothing had changed yet. But as they went, they were healed. 10 started the journey, but only one turned back. And what he did next changed everything. Question 1. Jesus healed 10, so why did only one come back? What did the 9 miss that could cost you everything? In Gospel of Luke chapter 17 verses 11 to 19, 10 men with leprosy cry out from a distance, cut off, unclean, desperate. Jesus doesn't touch them first, he gives a command. Go, show yourselves to the priests. That requires movement before evidence. As they go, they're healed. But here's the tension, healing happened on the way, not at the moment of asking. Faith moved them, but only one let gratitude turn him around. The 9 kept walking. Maybe they were excited, maybe they were relieved, maybe they were focused on getting their lives back. But in their rush to reclaim normal, they missed the person who changed everything. They received the gift, but ignored the giver. The one who returned, a Samaritan, an outsider, falls at Jesus' feet, glorifies God loudly, and gives thanks. Jesus responds, "Your faith has made you whole." Not just healed, made whole. Something deeper, fuller, eternal. So what does this expose? You can experience God's power and still miss his presence. You can get what you prayed for and still walk past the relationship he's offering. The 9 teach us how easy it is to move on without worship. The one teaches us that gratitude is a return, not a reaction. Now the urgency. Before you ask for more, have you returned for what he already did? Your next breakthrough may not come from another request, but from a step back toward Jesus. Don't let answered prayers dull your devotion. Let them deepen it. Reflect with these questions. Have I received from God without returning to him? Am I chasing results more than relationship? When was the last time I stopped, turned back, and gave thanks? What blessing have I normalized that should still provoke worship? Am I healed in areas, but still not whole? What would it look like, today, to be the one who returns? Question 2. Have you ever received a blessing from God and kept walking like nothing happened? What does that reveal about your heart? In Luke chapter 17 verses 11 to 19, 10 lepers cried out to Jesus in desperation, and he answered. All 10 were healed, but only one turned back. That means it's possible to experience God's power and still miss God himself. The 9 kept moving toward what they wanted, normal life, restored reputation, physical freedom. But they never paused to acknowledge the one who made it possible. That reveals a dangerous truth. You can receive a blessing and still have a heart that is disconnected from gratitude. The miracle met their need, but it didn't transform their posture. So what does your response say about you? When God answers, do you slow down or speed up? Do you remember him, or move on to the next request? Gratitude exposes what you truly value. If you celebrate the gift but ignore the giver, your heart may be more attached to outcomes than to God. The tension is real. Many know how to cry out in crisis, but few know how to come back in devotion. And here's the urgency. Ingratitude doesn't always look like rebellion. Sometimes it looks like silence. No praise, no return, no acknowledgement, just moving on. Pause immediately when God moves. Don't rush past the moment. Mark it with thanksgiving. Return intentionally. Build a habit of going back to God in prayer, not just for needs, but for gratitude. Name the blessing out loud. What did God do? Say it, write it, testify. Worship before you request again. Let thanksgiving lead, not just desperation. Examine your pattern. Are you consistent in gratitude, or only consistent in asking? Because this question is not casual, it's searching. Are you walking with God, or just walking past Him after He blesses you? Question 3. What if being healed isn't the same as being made whole? Are you settling for less than what Jesus offers? In Luke chapter 17 verses 11 to 19, all 10 lepers were healed, but only one was made whole. Jesus told the returning man, "Thy faith hath made thee whole." That word goes deeper than physical healing. The 9 experienced restored skin, but the one experienced restored life. Healing addressed the symptom, wholeness transformed the soul. The 9 got relief, but the one got relationship. The miracle changed their condition, but only one allowed the moment to change his heart. That exposes a sobering truth. You can experience God's power and still miss His fullness. So what are you really pursuing? Are you asking God to fix things, or to transform you? Do you want relief from pressure, or renewal of your heart? It's possible to shout over what God did and still remain unchanged within. That's the tension. Many stop at healing because it feels good, but wholeness requires surrender. Healing lets you go back to life as usual. Wholeness calls you to fall at Jesus' feet. And here's the urgency. If you settle for what God does for you, you may never experience who He wants to be in you. The 9 kept walking, but the one turned back and encountered something greater. Don't stop at relief, seek transformation. Ask God to change your heart, not just your situation. Return to Jesus after the breakthrough. Wholeness begins where gratitude bows. Surrender the deeper areas. Let God heal what people can't see, your motives, wounds, and desires. Pursue relationship over results. Stay with Jesus, not just His miracles. Evaluate your response. Did the blessing bring you closer to Him, or just move you forward in life? Because the question is pressing. Are you healed, or are you whole? Question 4. The one who returned was a Samaritan, an outsider. Could it be that those closest to God sometimes miss Him the most? In Luke chapter 17 verses 11 to 19, Jesus highlights a shocking detail. The only one who returned was a Samaritan. To His audience, that would have been unthinkable. Samaritans were viewed as outsiders, spiritually suspect, socially rejected. Yet the one expected to be far from God responded the closest to Him. Meanwhile, the 9, likely those more familiar with the religious system, received the miracle but never returned. This flips expectations. Proximity to religion did not produce gratitude. Familiarity did not produce devotion. The outsider recognized what others overlooked. So where do you stand? Have you become so familiar with God that you no longer respond to Him? Do you hear truth often, but feel it less? It's possible to be around church, scripture, and spiritual language, and still miss the moment when God moves. That's the tension. Exposure is not the same as encounter. Routine can dull reverence. And here's the urgency. The more you assume you know God, the easier it is to stop responding to Him. The Samaritan had less access, but more awareness. Less tradition, but more gratitude. He didn't take the miracle lightly, he turned back with urgency. Guard against spiritual familiarity. Don't let repeated exposure make you numb to God's presence. Respond quickly when God moves. Delay can turn conviction into indifference. Value encounter over routine. Don't just go through motions, engage your heart. Stay humble. Never assume closeness, pursue it daily. Check your response. When God blesses you, do you return, or just continue? Because the question is sharp and searching. Are you close to God, or just close to the things of God? Question 5. Why did Jesus ask, "Where are the 9? And what if He's asking that same question about you today? In Luke chapter 17 verses 11 to 19, Jesus already knew the answer, yet He still asked, "Where are the 9? This was not for information, it was for revelation. The question exposes the gap between receiving and returning. All 10 experienced mercy, but only one responded with worship. Jesus highlights the absence of gratitude, not to shame, but to reveal the condition of the heart. The miracle was public, but the response was personal. And the silence of the 9 speaks loudly. Blessing does not guarantee devotion. Reflection. Now feel the weight of that question turning toward you. Where are you after God has moved in your life? Did you come back, or did you just move on? Do you remember the moment God answered, or have you buried it under the next need? Here's the tension. Many want God to show up, but few show up for God after He does. And here's the urgency. Every unanswered return dulls your sensitivity to Him. The more you fail to respond, the easier it becomes to forget. Jesus is not just counting miracles, He's looking for hearts. The 9 were present for the blessing but absent in worship. Answer the question with your life. Let your actions show that you returned. Build a habit of remembrance. Revisit what God has done, don't let it fade. Respond with visible gratitude, worship, testify, and give thanks intentionally. Don't delay your return. Immediate response protects your heart from indifference. Stay present with God after the breakthrough. Don't disappear once the need is met. Because this is not just a question from the past, it's a question echoing right now. When God looks for a response, will He find you missing or returning? Question 6. Are you more focused on what God can do for you, or on who God is to you? Which one drives your worship? In Luke chapter 17 verses 11 to 19, all 10 cried out for what Jesus could do, but only one returned for who Jesus is. The 9 pursued the benefit, the 1 pursued the person. That distinction changes everything. When your focus is on what God can do, your relationship becomes transactional, built on outcomes, not intimacy. But when your focus shifts to who God is, worship becomes your response, not just your reaction. The one who returned fell at Jesus' feet. He didn't just appreciate the miracle, he recognized the Master. So what drives you? Do you seek God mainly in moments of need? Does your passion rise only when you're asking for something? Here's the tension. It's easy to love what God provides and neglect who He is. But if your worship depends on results, it will weaken when results delay. And here's the urgency. A results-driven faith will always be unstable. If God is only valuable when He answers, then your devotion will rise and fall with circumstances. The 9 had a reason to celebrate, but only one had a reason to worship. Shift your focus daily. Spend time honoring God for who He is, not just what He does. Worship without a request. Practice praising God even when you're not asking for anything. Anchor your faith in His character. Trust His nature, not just His actions. Examine your motives. Are you seeking God, or just solutions? Stay at His feet. Let worship become your posture, not just your response to breakthroughs. Because the real question is not just what God has done for you, but whether you truly know Him. Question 7. They all cried out in desperation, but only one came back in devotion. Which group are you really in? In Luke chapter 17 verses 11 to 19, all 10 lifted their voices in desperation. Jesus, Master, have mercy on us. Pain unified them, need made them loud, but after the miracle, their paths divided. 9 kept going, 1 turned back. Desperation got them to Jesus, but devotion revealed who truly valued Him. That contrast is sharp. It's possible to have a powerful moment of need without a lasting posture of worship. The cry brought them help, but only the return brought Him closer. So which pattern marks your life? Do you run to God when life breaks, and drift when it's fixed? Are your prayers loud in crisis but quiet in comfort? Here's the tension. Desperation is temporary, but devotion is intentional. Anyone can cry out when they're hurting, but devotion requires a decision after the pain is gone. And here's the urgency. If your connection to God is only fueled by trouble, then your relationship will weaken the moment relief arrives. The 9 proved you can encounter Jesus and still keep your distance afterward. The 1 proved that true encounter leads to pursuit. Move beyond crisis faith. Don't let your walk with God start and stop with emergencies. Create rhythms of devotion. Set daily time to seek God, even when nothing is wrong. Return after every breakthrough. Let gratitude lead you back, not just need. Examine your consistency. Are you as present with God in peace as you are in pressure? Choose devotion on purpose. Make worship a lifestyle, not a reaction. Because this question demands honesty. When the pressure lifts, do you stay with God, or do you move on without Him? Question 8. Could it be that answered prayers are testing your gratitude just as much as unanswered ones test your faith? In Luke chapter 17 verses 11 to 19, the 10 lepers cried out, and Jesus answered. The test didn't end with the miracle, it began there. All 10 passed the test of faith in asking, but 9 failed the test of gratitude in receiving. Answered prayer revealed their priorities. They proved they could believe for help, but not all of them would return in honor. This exposes a deeper truth. Breakthroughs are not just blessings, they are moments that reveal the posture of your heart. So how do you respond when God says, yes? Do you pause, or proceed? Do you worship, or just move on to the next need? Here's the tension. We often think the real test is waiting on God, but sometimes the greater test is remembering Him after He answers. Unanswered prayers stretch your faith, but answered prayers expose your gratitude. And here's the urgency. If you fail to respond rightly to what God has already done, you risk becoming spiritually dull to His presence. The miracle can become common. The mercy can become expected. And slowly, reverence fades. Treat every answered prayer as sacred. Don't normalize what God has done. Respond immediately with gratitude. Let thanksgiving interrupt your routine. Document God's faithfulness. Keep a record so you don't forget. Worship before the next request. Don't stack prayers without stacking praise. Guard your heart from entitlement. Remember, everything God gives is grace. Because the question is pressing and personal. When God answers, do you pass the test of gratitude, or quietly fail it? Question 9. The 9 got what they wanted, but the 1 got something greater. Are you chasing miracles or a relationship? In Luke chapter 17 verses 11 to 19, all 10 received what they asked for, healing. But only 1 received something deeper, wholeness and a personal word from Jesus. The 9 experienced the miracle, the 1 experienced the Master. That difference is everything. Miracles meet needs, but relationship transforms lives. The 9 were satisfied with the outcome, the 1 pursued the presence. And in returning, he didn't just get healed, he got closer. So what are you really after? Do you seek God for what He can do, or for who He is? Would you still follow Him if the miracle didn't come? Here's the tension. It's possible to build a faith that is fueled by results but empty of relationship. When miracles become the goal, God becomes a means. And here's the urgency. A miracle-centered life will always keep you searching for the next breakthrough, but a relationship-centered life will anchor you even when nothing changes. The 9 walked away with a gift, but the 1 stayed connected to the giver. Pursue presence over provision. Make time to seek God, not just His help. Stay after the miracle. Don't leave the moment. Linger in His presence. Measure growth by closeness, not outcomes. Ask, am I deeper with God? Worship without conditions. Don't tie your devotion to results. Choose relationship daily. Walk with God beyond moments of need. Because the question cuts deep. Are you following Jesus for what He gives, or for who He is? Question 10. What if your next breakthrough isn't in asking, but in returning? When was the last time you truly gave thanks? In Luke chapter 17 verses 11 to 19, the turning point wasn't another request, it was a return. The 1 who came back didn't ask for more, he recognized what had already been done. And in that moment of gratitude, Jesus spoke something deeper over his life, wholeness. That reveals a powerful truth. Sometimes God has already moved, but the next level is unlocked through your response, not your request. The 9 kept going forward, but the 1 turned back and found more. So when did you last pause and truly thank God? Not casually, not quickly, but intentionally? Have you been asking for the next thing while overlooking what He already did? Here's the tension. We are trained to move on after the blessing, but heaven looks for those who come back. Gratitude is not automatic, it's chosen. And here's the urgency. If you rush past what God has done, you may miss what He wants to do next. The miracle may have already happened, but the deeper encounter is waiting in your return. Stop and look back. Identify specific moments where God has moved in your life. Return with intention. Set aside time just to thank Him, no requests attached. Express gratitude visibly. Worship, testify, and acknowledge Him openly. Slow your pace. Don't let life carry you past moments that deserve honor. Make thanksgiving a discipline. Let it become your rhythm, not your reaction. Because the question is now yours to answer. Will you keep asking for more, or will you return and unlock what's greater? If this message challenged you, don't just move on, respond. Are you one of the 9, or are you the 1 who returns? Take a moment right now and tell God, thank you. Not for what you're asking next, but for what He's already done. If this spoke to you, share it with someone who needs this reminder. And if you want more content that challenges your faith, builds your walk, and keeps you close to God, subscribe to Living Word Media. Because this isn't just about hearing the word, it's about responding to it. And remember, your next breakthrough might not start with another request. It might start with your return.
Thank you for watching Living Word Media. If this lesson blessed you, please like, share, and subscribe. Tell a friend to subscribe to Living Word Media. Thanks again for watching. Stay rooted and walk good.